Good evening and thank you for joining us. A problem related to the Microsoft Windows system caused chaos around the world today, with users reporting widespread outages that affected airlines, banks, and broadcasters. The outage also caused a raft of disruptions in Hong Kong. Many travelers at Hong Kong International Airport were affected, with check-in procedures being performed manually. Mimosa Ngai reports.
At Hong Kong International Airport, many travelers this afternoon were forced to wait at check-in counters because of the Microsoft Windows outage. Check-in procedures had to be done by hand. The outage caused inconvenience to passengers. This man said he had been waiting in the queue for around 2 hours for check-in procedures. My flight is at 4:45 p.m., but it is already 4:30 p.m., he said. This is the in-town check-in service spot at Hong Kong Station of the Airport Express line, where under normal circumstances, travelers can drop their baggage and collect boarding passes in advance. With the disruption, flight departure information boards asked people to check in at the airport. This mother and daughter planned to travel to Australia and hoped their flight would not be affected.
We've been watching the news for a few hours and checking online, but you can't even see anything online anymore now. They're saying it's not available, so we're just going to go and hope that we're not delayed and we still get on a flight tonight.
At 5 p.m., Cathay Pacific Airways said its self-check-in kiosks had resumed operations. However, other services, including self-service backdrop and online flight booking, were still disrupted. The Windows outage also affected the shopping experience of customers at this Japanese chain store. Customers had to wait longer to check out their items. The Windows outage is connected to CrowdStrike, an American cybersecurity technology company. A malware expert in Hong Kong believes the outage is not a cybersecurity issue.
I think it's not just a typical Windows server attack or update. It's related to the kinds of different software and some conflicts of the software driver and cause the operation or the server cannot running.
He said it will probably take CrowdStrike at least 8 hours to fix the problem because the company needs to find the root cause of the breakdown.
There are different versions of Windows suffer from the crash, so they need to investigate into it, which driver, which kind of components of their agent caused the blue screen.
Lai said such a massive scale of blackout is not common. He said CrowdStrike should take a lesson from this incident. News 9, TVB News.
In the U.S., a calm and collected Donald Trump accepted the Republican Party's presidential nomination at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In a speech, the former president described in detail the assassination attempt that could have ended his life. Nasi Karim has more.
What a difference a bullet makes. Despite the glitzy setting, a bandaged Donald Trump toned down his typically aggressive rhetoric for a more reflective and somber presence on the final day of the 4-day Republican National Convention. He offered a solemn retelling of Saturday's assassination attempt when a bullet grazed his right ear, an inch from taking his life. Probably the last time he ever talks about it in public, because the experience, he said, was so traumatic.
I went to the stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear. I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together.
Calling for the healing of a nation split by discord and division, Trump later accepted the Republican nomination to contest the November 5th presidential election.
I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America. So tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States. Thank you.
Famous wrestler Hulk Hogan paid tribute to the former president by ripping out his shirt to reveal a Trump and J.D. Vance T-shirt. With a happy-looking wife, Melania, making a rare appearance at one of his events, the Trump expanded family took the stage to bid farewell to the convention under a blizzard of red, white and blue balloons. After energizing the packed Fiserv Forum, it was Trump's turn to take aim, with his sights set firmly on the White House. Nazri Karim, TVB News.
Donald Trump laid out his policy vision at the Republican National Convention, vowing to raise tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles if he's elected president of the United States. Danny Zhou has the story.
On the final day of the Republican National Convention, former U.S. President Donald Trump said he would end the electric vehicle mandate and properly use taxes, tariffs, and incentives in his pledge to bring back auto manufacturing in America. He threatened to put tariffs of 100 to 200% on each imported e-car.
I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. And they're being built by China to make cars and to sell them into our country. No tax, no anything. Those plants are going to be built in the United States, and our people are going to man those plants. And if they don't agree with us, we'll put a tariff of approximately 100 to 200% on each car, and they will be unsellable in the United States. Ever made.
Also notable in the event, Trump again emphatically used the controversial term China virus for COVID-19, which was not written in the script. Analysts pointed out that Trump's perpetuation of the rhetoric would further fuel hate crimes against Asian Americans. On the Taiwan issue, Trump said in an interview with Bloomberg this week that Taiwan should pay for U.S. protection, adding the island has taken American semiconductor businesses. In response, Taiwan official Lin Jialong told reporters the island will rely more on itself and is likely to increase its defense spending. Trump also vowed to reduce inflation, cut taxes, secure the border, achieve energy dominance, and end international crisis. He accused illegal immigrants of destroying his country and said he would end the crisis by closing the border and complete the building of a wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Welcome back. After the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China concluded yesterday, the committee held a press conference this morning to explain guiding principles of the third plenary session. They include improving the participation mechanism of private enterprises in major national projects. The third plenum concluded on Thursday with the adoption of the resolution on further deepening reform and China's modernization. At a press conference of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, it was reviewed that more than 300 reform measures were proposed. Among them, economic structural reforms will lead to such efforts. Han Wenxiu, Executive Deputy Director of the Office of the Central Financial and Economic Affairs, said the reform of state capital and state-owned enterprises will be strengthened, including energy and rail-related sectors. It will also improve the long-term mechanism for private enterprises to participate in major national projects. Studies too on the tax system for new forms of business. To address financial difficulties of local governments, tax sources will be expanded. The national management of a macro balance sheet will be explored. Han said given the impact of the domestic real estate market on the macroeconomy, the country will work to improve the shortcomings of the property market, including high debts, high turnovers, and highly leveraged investment. The development of new industries will be accelerated as well for new economic growth drivers. When asked if China will further open up and attract more foreign capital, Han said China will continue to promote the opportunities presented by the nation's modernization efforts. On legal work, the third plenum proposed multiple pieces of legislation and amendment, including the private economy promotion law and anti-cross-border corruption law. Based on past experience, details of the resolution and the third plenum will be out in a few days. The Housing Authority has endorsed the enhanced marking scheme for state management enforcement to increase penalties for misdeeds at public housing estates. The updates will take effect in the fourth quarter this year. 3 new misdeeds with 7 penalty points have been added. They are feeding wild pigeons or other animals, hanging or placing objects with potential risk of falling from height outside windows, balconies, or exterior walls, and resisting or obstructing authorities in executing their duties, resulting in 15 penalty points. The Housing Authority said it will step up publicity in the revised marking scheme. Listed mainland artificial intelligence company iFlyTech and its subsidiary iFly Health will establish their international headquarters at Cyberport. Helen Chen reports.
Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry Sun Dong attended the signing ceremony. Sun Dong said that the artificial intelligence ecosystem is starting to take shape in Hong Kong, and that the Hong Kong version of ChatGPT will be put into government use by this year. Plans are afoot to provide services to the public starting next year. iFlyTech and iFly House are among the leading AI companies in the Asia-Pacific region and on the mainland. They entered Hong Kong through Cyberport's Easy Landing scheme and plan to establish a 150-strong artificial intelligence research and development team in the city. Duan Dawei, Senior Vice President of iFlyTech, said the focus is on solving immediate needs for society's development, especially in education and healthcare. He said they plan to use iFly House as a vehicle to help establish their presence in Hong Kong. The companies plan to invest $400 million in Hong Kong over the next 5 years. Secretary for Innovation Sun Dong said that under the one country, two systems principle, Hong Kong can act as a hub between mainland technology firms and the rest of the world. The companies can take advantage of the city's unique strengths now that they're headquartered in Hong Kong. Helen Chen, TVB News.
Overseas again, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced £84 million in funding to tackle illegal migration in the UK. Starmer was speaking at the European Political Community Summit in Oxfordshire, England, where he greeted 45 heads of government. Tracy Furness has more.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer greeted King Charles III to Blenheim Palace, the birthplace of former Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and where the European Political Community Summit was taking place. Starmer said the leaders were meeting as a new storm gathers over our continent, taking the famous Churchill quote about the impending Second World War and applying it to the war in Ukraine.
How are you?
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was a key guest at the meeting, and he met with several European leaders to shore up support for his country's defence and to discuss ways to defend democracy. And the European leaders responded, saying they will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Ukraine is fighting not just for the Ukrainian people, though of course it is, but for the European people, for freedom, democracy and the rule of law. And our security, therefore, starts in Ukraine. So we pledge to President Zelensky once again that we will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz reiterated support for Ukraine, but rejected Zelensky's demand to lift the restrictions on the use of Western-supplied weapons on Russian territory. Another key issue for Starmer is the illegal migration his country faces. He plans to work closely with European police agency Europol against people smuggling, and he will scrap the contentious Rwanda bill. He also announced £84 million in funding to tackle the illegal migration problem.
To stop illegal migration, we must also tackle it at source. So today I'm announcing £84 million of new funding for projects across Africa and the Middle East. That includes humanitarian and health support, skills training, help with job opportunities, and access to education.
When Britain agreed earlier this year to hold the one-day summit, Conservative leader Rishi Sunak was Prime Minister. His defeat in a July 4th election meant that it was Starmer who welcomed leaders to Blenheim Palace, which enabled him to get to know many European leaders in person. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.